Hey guys, welcome to chessroots.com. Today in this next live game, I'm going to show you a game played between Aronian and Kramnik. Here, this was round number 12, and both the players needs win in this to catch Magnus Carlsen in the tournament. So here, Aronian is white and Kramnik is black. D4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, c5. This was Tarrasch opening. C into d5, knight into d5. Okay, we often see in Tarrasch players capturing with e into d5 and trying to play with an isolated pawn in the center. It's d5 isolated pawn and trying to play against the pieces with a strong center of the white. So Kramnik not ready to give any weakness, so he just captured with knight into d5, which is equivalently good. And this line, there is not much scope for both the players to try win against each of them. So after knight into d5, e3 was played. We can think most like e4 in this position. Let us see e4 for example. After e4, some games like c into d4 is also played. Queen into d4, knight c6, bishop b5, knight into c3. So this will be like plus equal position after queen into c3. White really don't have any problems in playing this position. Black will be facing a problem on the bishop on c8. So if you play more like bishop d7, white can happily castles and play rook d1. So this is a plus equal position. So e4, after e4 there is another variation like knight into c3, b into c3, c into d4, c into d4, bishop e7, or even knight c6 is played. Bishop e2, because bishop don't have good squares on another square. So after bishop e2, castle, or maybe b6, trying to activate this bishop on. This will be like a plus equal position, but black will have a good chances to counter the center by playing some more like knight b7, trying to push this move like f5 or say e5. Most games on this variation became a draw. So both the players are trying to win. So here they played e3. So after e3, knight c6 was played. Bishop d3, bishop e7, a3. I was planning to play more like queen c2. Play queen c2. Knight b4, this will be a problem. So only knight b4. So okay, a3 was first castle shot. Queen c2, c into d4, e into d4. Here I think Kramnik played an excellent positional move. One should call this as anti-positional move, but I will call this as a positional move because it allows black's momentum, black's pieces pretty slow to develop. Here we used to see moves like maybe h6 or even g6, but what I prefer is g6 is also good. trying to shut down this bishop into h7, and also you can play more like bishop f6, and I on this d4. Later he can play b6 and b7, which is a normal plan, but Kramnik here played a very good move. Leaving this e6 as a weakness, he played f5. Now everyone feels that this e6 is a big weakness, but as long as this bishop is on c8, this e6 can be supported firmly, so there is no problem of this e6. And the other idea is also to open the f file, or even to play more like f4. Very interesting idea, f5. And so here she castles, Aronian castles bishop f6. After bishop f6, knight into d5, queen into d5. Here c into e into d5 is also possible, but after bishop e3, most like bishop e3, knight e5, or even sometimes it will come like there is no f4. First of all, there is no f4. You can even play more like attacking on the queen side. If you move any of these pieces like a knight or bishop, you can simply play knight e5 and close with f4. So white don't have any problem in this position. Black will be having a problem like developing this bishop on c8. So queen into d5. Bishop e3 supporting this d4, or else if we play more like bishop c4, black have a good move of knight into d4. He'll simply grab this pawn. After bishop into d5, he can take knight into c2, attacking this rook on a8 and bishop on t5. So there is no other move than capturing this knight into d4, queen into d4, and this will be a good playable position for black. So here Aronian played bishop e3 supporting this d4. Here Kramnik played, I think, a brilliant move, a brilliant positional move, continuing the threat to prevent bishop c4. Now the threat is of bishop c4. Looks very dangerous. So he played b5. Kramnik is trying to prevent his opponent at any cost. So b5 is literally the only chance to prevent this queen, to stay this queen on d5. So a pretty good move, b5. Queen e2, attacking this b5. Here I think if you want to play to win, you should play more like a6. While seeing this live game, I thought a6 is a pretty only move, and which Kramnik didn't play. He played bishop b7, and he's ready to take a draw now, I think, because after bishop into b5, f4 is first to play, because to open this diagonal and keep a mate on this g2, he needs to move this knight and capture knight into d4. So if you move your bishop to c1 somewhere or d2, black can simply capture knight into d4 and wins the game. After knight into f3, there is not much to analyze this position. So For example, if you play queen d1, you can simply play knight into b5 or knight into f3 or queen into b5. There are pretty lots of options are there in this version. So here let us come back to bishop b7, and the choice variation is after bishop into b5, f4, and now he'll play bishop c4. If you move your queen to anywhere like d7, he can simply move his bishop, or if you want to keep this threat, he will simply attack the queen and make this position etc. There is nothing more than anything can be done in this position by both the players. Now the position is forced to if you play a weak move like queen d6 or queen d7, now he can simply move his bishop and there is no checkmate. You can even support this c3 by playing bishop into c3. So if you play more like knight d4, now knight into d4, bishop into d4, and bishop b4 will lose us. So if you play more like queen d7 early, let us come to queen d7, bishop c4, queen d7. Now he can take bishop into f4. So there is no way that after bishop into b5, white can simply draw the position. So here Aronian trying for a win. He needs to win this game to catch Magnus Carlsen in the tournament to play against the world champion Vishwanathan Anand. So bishop e3, b5, queen e2, bishop b7. Here he played rook a1, a6, rook fd, d1, and now f4. Here after f4, one will have a doubt what will happen after knight into bishop into f4. After bishop into f4, you can simply capture knight into d4. If you take knight into d4, this is checkmate on g2, this g2, or if you capture more like sorry, there is no other move, you will simply capture knight into f3 and will continue his advantage. So okay, let us come back to position after f4. After f4, here he played rook c5, queen d6, queen c2. After thinking for almost half an hour, white really didn't find any good move to in this position. All the black pieces are pretty good and ready to attack, so he doesn't really have any good options to be found in this position. So he played queen c2, giving the bishop for 2 pawns and trying to have a good center in this position. So queen c2, a nice idea. Kramnik took f into e3, bishop into h7, king h8, f into e3, vector pawns in the center. So knight e7. Here I think black should play rook a c1, which is a pretty easy move. For example, rook a c1. The reason why he have to play rook a c1 because after rook h5, black can simply take knight into d4, attacking this queen. So black simply ignored the threat of rook h5. The only good threat available for white is to play rook h5. So he simply ignored this rook h5 and played something knight e7, which is equally good, but rook h5 is immediately threatened from the white, so one should consider this move rook h5. Okay, knight e7 is equally good. He wants to play knight g8 and to h6 and block this rook h5 threat. So here I think still Aronian can draw this position by playing rook h5. For example, if you play rook h5, rook ac1, rook ac8, queen e2, bishop into f3 forced, or else he'll simply give bishop e4 check and bishop into b7. So bishop into f3 forced to take queen into f3, bishop g5 attacking the queen, bishop d3 check, king g8, or queen h3. Now bishop h6. This position is pretty okay for white, so he can play more like g4, threatening g5. White should be quite fine in this position. He has lots of attack for this pawn. There is another variation like after knight e7, rook c8. Sorry, we just played I'm sorry. Let us come after knight e7. Let us come to rook h8, rook ac8, queen e2, bishop into f3, queen into f3, bishop e5, rook h5, rook ac8, queen e2. Instead of queen e2, he can try more like knight e5. I thought this is also very good in this game. After bishop into e5, or else if we play more like anything like rook into c2, black can play bishop into c2 check, king g8, bishop h7 check, king h8, bishop g6 check, king g8, bishop f7, rook into f7, rook h8 check, king into h8, knight into f7, king g8, knight into d6. So while seeing this game, I thought saw this thread, and I was pretty happy to see this, and want to show this on a live video. So very interesting, pretty good move. And now in this position, after playing so brilliantly, white is still slightly advantage. There is no guarantee that white can win this even after playing so well in this position. So now he is forced to play bishop d5. The bishop is under attack. If you play more like e4, he will play bishop b3, and black is also okay in this position. So maybe after playing few moves, both players will decide to draw this, or even maybe white can also try for the win. So let us come back to original position. I don't know whether these players Kramnik and Aronian saw all these variations, or maybe they missed some variations. After playing this 12th round, both the players are pretty tired and almost missing every single threat of each player. Later in the game, both players played many mistakes in the end game even. So after f into e3, knight e7, e4, he wants to play e5. Here Kramnik, one should say Kramnik should not miss this move. He played rook c8, which was played in the game, but here I think queen f4 is pretty simple, and black is clearly better. Here we'll give the symbols. So why this is clearly advantage, because after rook h5, Now you cannot close with e5 because he will simply play queen e3 check, king h1 and bishop in f3. I think we don't need much analysis of this position. If you capture with g into queen into f3 is losing. Bishop is short. So after let us come to queen f4. So if you play more like not e5, let us say like rook h5. If you play more like rook h5, knight g8, bishop g6, knight h6, and all the threats have been ended. So black has successfully defended this position with a piece up. So this is clearly advantage for black. So rook c8, queen f4, an easy win for Kramnik. After thinking for 10f4, I don't know why and how he left this simple easy move. So queen, here he played rook c8, e5, bishop into e5, knight into e5, rook into c5, knight g6 check. Pause this position for a few minutes and try to analyze what you'll play in this, how you will continue here. Let us come after knight into g6, d into c5. Okay, see this position, black is white is gaining his piece and this queen is under attack. Once you move your queen, you are down to 2 pawns and the c5 pawn is a big threat and your king is also pretty open. So what you will play in this position to gain some advantage for black? Yes, I think you found this move, bishop e4. Now if you capture queen into e4, you can simply take queen into d1 is a checkmate. So if you play any other move like queen e2, maybe you can simply take queen into c5 with the check. So bishop e4 is the only move to get any sort of advantage for black, and this move was played like within 1 and 2 seconds by Kramnik. Rook into d6 was forced to take, bishop into c2, bishop into g6 is also forced, bishop into g6 and rook into e6. So here we are in a position of an end game position where white is having 2 pawns for a bishop. So we are not pretty sure that most of us not pretty sure that this position is in any advantage, but one can say there are pawns on both the sides of black, so there is a fair chance for black to win this position. Okay, let us play this one. Bishop d3, the only move. Bishop is under attack and now he is threatening to give checkmate. h4, white simply wants to exchange g7 pawn so that he can try for a draw at least. So this pawn should be pushed quick and fast with the help of the king, so I can try for a draw. Here a5, c6. I think here black should play at least. White should bring the king pretty fast to the center till e5 at least, and then only he can try something. But here he played c6, which is a big mistake. Now here black can win simply by playing rook c8, but which was not played in the game. The reason why rook c8 is played because simply now white is threatening to play rook d6, attacking this bishop, uh, and if you move your bishop anywhere, he can push c7. If you play rook c8, he can push rook d8 and he can make it this pawn. So rook c8 is pretty logical. Even you can defend from the other side, but there is a defense, counter defense move for white, which Kramnik missed. I'll show you in the game. So if you play rook c8, he'll play rook d3 and bishop e4, and this pawn is lost. So if you play like rook e6, bishop into c6, now this is a pretty easy win for black. So after rook d6, if you play more like let us come back to before more. Okay, rook c8. Okay, after rook c8, if you play more like b3 or b4, anything, most like bishop c2 is really dangerous. If you play b4, he can capture this b4, ab4, ab4, again bishop d3, g4, bishop c4, fixing this, rook d6, bishop f7, and bishop e8 loses this pawn. So there are many ways to defend this position. So what, like rook c8 is pretty simple. So after c6, black simply gave rook f1 check, king h2. Now we'll see the defensive move, rook c1, rook e3, and after bishop e1, rook c3 is a brilliant move, the only move to defend this position. And after rook c3, one should seriously say this position became an equal position. After rook into c3, which is forced, b into c3, here comes the tired move from white. Black played king g8, here white played c7. So see how they are tired. This move shows how Aronian and Kramnik became so tired in this position, playing this position. So here king g8, before king g8, black should play more like bishop a2 or bishop f5, bishop a2 or bishop f5, trying to prevent this pawn. Even after c7 we can play this move, but white will simply gain. After king g8, white will simply gain g4, preventing bishop f5, and he can push this pawn faster and trying to eliminate this g7 pawn, so that he can give this remaining pawn for this pawn and he can at least try for a draw. So now bishop a2 was forced, so he is wasting one more move. Instead of now, if you play move like king h7, it will be blunder, c7 will be becoming queen. So both the players are missing pretty easy moves. Bishop a2, now he can come h5 or even king g3 is also good. So after c7, bishop e4, now he is forcing to play bishop f5, king g3, king f7, king f4, king bishop e8, king g5, bishop g7. Black really don't have any options. Bishop e6, g4, h5, and I think this position is a pretty easy draw, but Aronian just blundered in this position and lost the game. After g5, king d7, king e5, bishop g8, d8, queen, king into king e6, king d6, king d8, king c6, king e7, king into b5, and king g5, king e6, king into a4. Now white is having 3 pawns for a bishop. king g5. Pause this position for a few minutes and try to see an easy draw variation in this position. I think most of us can draw this. Here Aronian played g6, a big blunder. I don't know how he can play this blunder, because see, after king g5, king into pawn, king into g6, king can come to f6, e5, and 1 2 3 moves within let me clear these arrows. Okay, I'll clearly tell you. Okay, after capturing this king into g6, black is coming 1 2 and 3 moves supporting the c5 pawn, and he will anyhow he'll give this pawn bishop for this pawn on a3. So this is a simple draw. So Kramnik anyhow will play g6. Now see, king is coming pretty hard. Now he have to capture h5, he have to capture h6, and see how many moves. 1 2 3 4 moves. So he's just losing one more important move, and after he is capturing 2 moves, so he's wasting one more move capturing on h6, and also he have to come till t3. Meanwhile he can push these 2 pawns pretty fast. See, one more difference, and white is lost here. So now in this position, g6, I'll show you g6, which was played in the game. King g5, king b5, king into pawn a5. Let us see fast. a3, bishop f5, stopping this pawn. Bishop 8. Now he needs to attack this pawn. Now see, king on e4. He is simply supporting this pawn not to push, and also preventing this pawn from a7. So g5. So he wants to push c6. So bishop a8 forced, king 8, and bishop c6. If you comes king c7, he can play king here. If you push this, he can't push this. If you push this queen, like 8 queen, he can simply take this king bishop, and this is easy win. So let us come back to the previous position, where let us see h6. If you play h6, g6. Now if you capture king, king b5, maybe king into pawn a4, king into h6. Now black is down with one more move, a5, g5, maybe a6, g4, a7, bishop d5, c4, bishop a8 forced, c5, g3, c6, g2, c7, and maybe g1, or even a move like bishop g7. He can make this queen, and he will lose the game now. After bishop a8, he can make it queen. If you make it queen, he can give a check and take this queen on skewer. So so there is no way to play bishop sorry, here. So c7, you have to make this queen, again queen, and this position is a easy draw. So this was a pretty good game played by both the players, and I think one should say Kramnik played better than the Aronian. Now I think Kramnik just won 3 games in a row. He is equaling Magnus Carlsen. So let us see who will play against Vishwanathan Anand in the World Championship. I hope you enjoyed this game. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave comments. See you in the next video. Bye.